Isn't this a sports show?
I'm trying to take risks and take chances, get messy, like Miss Frizzle told me to do. Magic School Bus reference for 7 people. Okay, good.
I got it. Don't worry.
Take chances, make mistakes, get messy. That's what it was. Shout out to Miss Frizzle.
Almost entirely.
I was homeschooled, so she was like my,
She was your science teacher.
She was my science teacher. Yeah, that's exactly right.
That was Bill Nye. How dare you?
Hey, Beards, you honestly think Josh's mom would let him watch Bill Nye? No way.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
You think I was reading Harry Potter for fun, Beards? Are you kidding me?
So Wishbone was your English class?
You're damn right.
Yeah!
You're damn right, Wishbone was my English class. Absolutely.
Take the show with you by listening on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app at 810WHB.com or by searching for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
I was basically educated on PBS.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm not complaining. Great.
Look at us now.
Yeah, look at us.
This is Almost Entirely Sports on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
No more fitting way to start off tonight's show than Rudy saying the phrase, "Oh no, I have direct access to it now." I believe in connection with your headphone jack.
The wooden panel.
Oh, it fell off.
No, it's on. I just didn't know that it's got a. Oh, I guess what's the word for like a door? A hitch, I guess. Not a hitch.
Like a hinge of
That's
some
what I
sort?
wanted. So apparently, yeah, you can just open it right up and tinker with this stuff.
Yeah,
Still can't
can
really
you fix
hear
it?
anything, but
Oh, okay. I'm hoping that tonight's one of those nights where a loud noise cleans up my my headphone sort of path, because right now is not ideal, but just enough to be able to hear, all the dulcet tones that we're producing.
I'm getting a little bit of you in my right ear.
Some would argue that's too much. So whatever works for you.
I say if you're gonna, you want to take everything, just you want to get all of it at once. Just take the full experience, good and bad.
I see.
It's just I feel like that's the best way to live life.
You in general, you mean, just like across the
take
board?
the full experience.
So
you know what? Like, here's the thing: if you're gonna have something like kind of bad happen to you, might as well just have the whole. You just might as well experience the whole thing, right? Like that way for a fact, hey, this was brutal.
So you have a rip the Band-Aid off, jump into the ice cold pool strategy.
I don't want to just barely hear you. I want my ears to bleed a little bit.
I don't know if I am consistent on that. I think I might be more of a case-by-case basis type of person. I think I generally would rather rip off the Band-Aid because then, it's all over quicker. I think that's probably true. But the bad news for you is that
you're going to go home?
In all likelihood, you're going to be hearing me for the next 2 hours.
Well, we'll see.
I mean, there's always a chance.
With these headphones, we'll see.
That's fair. So a handful of things to talk about here tonight. As always, you want to interact with the show, you can do it through our various video feeds, the Twitch, the YouTube, and the Facebook channels. I'd love to see an early arriving Twitch chat. Fills my heart with joy to see the Twitch filling up at the beginning of the show. We will talk to David Lesky of Inside the Crown. The Royals played a day game today and lost. And we continue our streak of almost only ever talking to Lesky after a bad Brady Singer start. But we'll talk to Lesky coming up here in about an hour. And then sometime towards the end of this hour, you're going to get 2 doses of Verderame as suggested by the CDC. We talked to him on Monday to preview a story that came out today on FanSided. We're going to talk about it a little bit before we get Verderame back. But then he's offered to just call back in and help us clarify anything that we didn't get to cover on Monday. And also to get into some of these sort of new little bits here, which I think are going to be interesting. I am curious, Beards, have you figured out your technical things on your side?
Yep, we're all good.
Okay, so I have 2 questions for you.
Uh-oh.
One is, are you a peel off the Band-Aid slowly, rip it all off at once type of guy? And 2, how does that correlate to you spending however many hours you spent at Kauffman Stadium on Monday?
It depends on where I've put the Band-Aid. If it's like on my legs or whatever and I've got a bunch of leg hair, it kind of depends. I might try and get that Band-Aid a little wet so that way it comes off a little bit easier.
Sure.
If it's like on my arm or whatever, I don't care. I'll just rip it off. And then in terms of how it applies to my time at Kauffman on Monday.
Because that game went 11, I think?
Yeah.
And it was blow the lead, Royals get the lead. Yankees blow the lead, Royals take the lead, or tie it back up, it was something literally statistically unprecedented, and you were there instead of being here running this illustrious program.
I was.
And I am just curious how you, with your general baseball impatience, were behaving in, really the 5th inning. I could see you in the 5th inning being like, you know what, I would much rather be home right
home?
now.
No, see, here's the
Can we
thing.
please go home?
Here's the thing with me.
Please.
I enjoy going to baseball games. I like going to baseball games. I don't like it when baseball forces me to be here until 3 in the morning. There's a difference.
That's true.
Okay. Follow-up question.
Okay.
Did you put your Nintendo Switch in your cargo shorts pocket?
No.
Because that's not a judgmental question. I would have been really
No,
impressed
I
if
like
you
going
had
to
pulled that
baseball
off.
games and sitting there.
So you stayed
Really?
for all
You took
11?
a switch into the
We left
stadium?
at the end of the 9th.
Sounds like you didn't like being there that much.
Rebecca had to go to work the next day.
Mm,
You know, that's fine.
yeah, went in for a dime, in for a dollar. Right? I think that's a sunk
Is that how
cost
that
fallacy,
works?
but I still think it's. Yeah, right. In for a
It was
in for a
also-
penny, in for a pound.
It was also really hot, and we were all really sweaty.
Yeah, because but that's a part
and
of.
we had
You
gone-
just talked about how much you love being at baseball games.
I enjoy going to baseball games.
Baseball games make you hot, sweaty, and tired.
Extra innings give me PTSD.
Yeah, because it's a lot of baseball.
Uh-huh.
I tweeted this out on Monday night because I fully got home, listened to, I think I was there for the end of the 9th or something, and then decided, I'm not really here for it. And then the Royals came back again, and so over the course of much laborious effort, I got the game to actually pull up on my phone through the MLB TV app, I think. And
You were having a fever dream.
it really was unbelievable that it worked. I might have ended up elsewhere. I can't remember how I got there.
How many CBD products did you use?
Me or Beards?
Both.
Beards is straight edge for life. You know this. No, but I just got there. It is like the 11th inning, and somewhere in there I just tweeted, the thing about baseball is there's just so bleeping much of it. And so I enjoy baseball conceptually. I'm just having a really hard time seeing and visualizing you being there at the end of the 9th inning, Beards, and being just having the time of your life.
I mean, we had fun. I'd gone with, it was also my parents and sister, and then Rebecca's parents and sister. We all went. And it was just everybody at the end of the night. We were like, okay, it's time. We're done. People have got to go to work the next day. Everybody's hot and sweaty. So we called it. It was
That's
fine.
a part of the, that's what
Not when
you're in
it's that
for.
hot, though. It was a little rough.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm not arguing that. I'm arguing that you were having an awesome time and then got to the 9th inning and you're like, you know what? Actually, I don't enjoy this anymore. I think you picked an arbitrary time to say you were no longer enjoying the baseball.
No, I enjoyed
I'm
baseball.
saying you
I
are
like
no
going to
longer
baseball games.
enjoying the baseball in the 4th inning.
No. No, I was still having fun.
So would you have stayed if you were not tied to other people's schedules?
Yeah.
You think you would have stayed through the 11th?
Yeah.
I don't even know you anymore.
I'm telling you, I enjoy going to baseball games. It's a fun thing. It's better than watching it on TV, and it's way better than having to run an 18-inning Sunday night baseball game and having me be here till 3 in the morning.
Agreed on all counts.
Or waiting until the game is done so that we can do Royals post-game at 11:30.
Yeah, no, being at the game is better than all of those things.
Yes.
No argument.
Yes.
I'm
When
just,
baseball gets in the way of me going home from work, then I don't like it.
but it got in the way of you going home because you were there also. I just think of you as almost always just wishing you were home, which increasingly is true for me. That's also not judgmental. I'm just surprised that you were enjoying being outside during a hot baseball game. That's all. But look, whenever I went out for the first game of the Kansas City Monarchs as the Monarchs and everything, and I sat there through the whole thing, and it even rained a little bit. And I was just glad to be outdoors at a sporting event because I hadn't been at an in-person sporting event since before the Big 12 tournament, maybe. I don't know. Very surprised, Beards.
I had, I think, 2 cherry limeades from Topsy's, and they were excellent.
God, I would destroy a Topsy's cherry limeade
I don't know what
right
it is about the ones that are at the ballpark, but they're much better than
It's just at the ballpark.
Oak Park Mall
Yeah.
has got a Topsy's in there.
Still good.
Whenever I go there, I'll get one.
They're
It's still
always
really
good.
good.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about the one at Kaufman though, but it's exceptional.
What is this Topsy?
The popcorn place.
Yeah, they do
Yeah.
like lemonades and limeades and stuff.
I've never heard of Topsies before.
Really?
Yeah, they do the big tins of popcorn.
Yeah.
I think you might even recognize the script logo if you saw it.
Okay.
Did you Google it?
Yeah.
And?
I don't recognize the logo, but I'm sure I've had it.
I forget now. Beards, you said Topsies, and I immediately thought of the drinks.
Uh-huh.
I had forgotten that they were also the popcorn place.
I'm not a big
I also had some of the
popcorn
popcorn.
person though, so
Really?
I don't go out of my way to buy popcorn. If I'm at a movie and somebody's like, "Hey, do you want to like get a large popcorn and split it?" I'm like, "Cool, like that, like I'll eat it." But like I will almost never go out of my way to pay for popcorn.
Is this true for all forms of popcorn? Your regular salt and butter popcorn? Do you like a
Pretty
caramel
much.
corn, a kettle corn?
And popcorn tastes good. It just gets stuff stuck in my teeth, and I don't like that.
Yeah, I get that. I just also like almost all popcorn.
There's a
Popcorn's good.
Yeah.
a bar down in Wichita, I forget its name, that gives out jalapeno popcorn. Like
Sounds good.
It's just like free bar patron food. It's very good. I just get stuck in my teeth and the kernels, and that's the only thing I don't like. It's nothing to do with the taste. Just don't like the feeling the teeth feels. The tooth feels.
Have we found a food object that Beards generally likes that Rudy generally doesn't?
It's not a taste thing though. It's just
No, doesn't matter. Listen. I am absolutely bullier number one in terms of Beards' picky eating.
Yeah, but I had popcorn 2 weeks ago when I went.
Yes, I mean it's like you're not saying I haven't had this since I was 5.
And I don't know if
which is
Beards knows
Beards'
this.
move.
I saw because I don't think I've talked about it on this show. We talked about it, but I saw Space Jam 2
Yeah.
in
I
theaters.
put it on the list.
And
for shot clock reviews?
Yeah.
Oh, exceptional.
and I had popcorn then. And popcorn was good. I ate all of my share of the popcorn. And then I just sat there with a dry mouth the rest of the movie, and and picking stuff out of my teeth.
I'm remembering another thing to add to the shot clock reviews. We're pretty close to, I think, doing another shot clock review. I think we're very near
I need to fill mine out more.
where we need to be. I should say I'm very near to where I need to be.
I think I've got 2 things there.
Oh, I haven't looked.
Chaotic Warrior, by the way, just so you know, it is not Hopping Gnome Brewing. They may also have it, but this was not a brewing place. A brewery.
I'm sorry. What?
Chaotic Warrior on Twitch.
Said what?
Hopping Gnome Brewing. Brewing is the...
the place in Wichita.
Yes.
Good God.
Jalapeno popcorn.
I thought that there was another show that I had just missed that had been going on. I was so confused about a hopping gnome.
Because I've never been to Hopping Gnome Brewery. They may, I believe him when they say that, but I've not been to that place. It is in downtown, like in Old Town, I think is what they call their downtown.
Got it. Yeah, I was
Starts with
deeply
an
confused
M.
by that.
I don't think it's Maury's.
Oh,
Maybe
is
Morty's?
it? Holy bleep. Is it, oh God, we're doing really
I think it's
old radio now.
Morty's.
No.
Starts with an M.
I went there after the weekend of my cousin's
near
wedding a couple
Quick
years
Trip.
ago. It starts with an M and it's a possessive name.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mort's.
It's Mort's. They have a whole
Thank you, Chaotic Warrior.
outside.
It's Mort's.
They have like custom. What is their deal? Mort's Martini and Cigar Bar. I went there 4 years ago, according to Google.
I
was there on November 11th, 2017.
I have a college buddy who lives in a loft just across. It's literally a 45-second walk.
Dude, it was awesome.
Yeah,
it was
really cool place.
it was one of the coolest places I've been in Wichita since not living there anymore.
Yeah. So whenever I'm down there, we that's generally the go-to place.
Here's a rabbit trail that I had been meaning to bring up on another show previously and forgot about, and then we'll do some of and the Chiefs didn't have practice today, so you're not missing any great audio or anything. And the most interesting Chiefs stuff of the day, I think, was from Verderame. So we'll have him here in a little bit. But whenever we were going to the Buffalo Wild Wings in Olathe to watch one of the NBA Finals games,
The Giannis dunk game.
yeah, I mean, no one really remembers how the game went, but we were at Buffalo Wild Wings, and whenever I was I think I had told Scott Chasen, who had essentially set up the whole thing, I think I had told him that I had not been to a Buffalo Wild Wings in my adult life, and I still do not remember going to a Buffalo Wild Wings before that in my adult life.
Really?
However, I had Google mapped to that to see how far away it was from the house and everything that night. And on Google, it said, like, you visited here 7 years ago. And then I went through, I was like, what? And then it also showed that that day I had gone to Black Bob Park and when I had gone home and what time I had left and all of that stuff.
Google still have all this information from 7 years ago?
Google still had all of that information. And I mentioned it to Renee because she used to live in Olathe and we both went to school. We went to MNU in Olathe. And she was like, oh, yeah, no, I remember doing this. It was with a group of, at the time, her college friends that we apparently went to Black Bob Park for something that I do not remember, and then apparently went to Buffalo Wild Wings, which I don't remember at all.
So Black Bob Park, because I used to live right next to it, and I don't know if they had it 7 years ago, because I did not live there 7 years ago, but they do have a putt golf course, little mini putt.
Seriously?
Yeah, very, very, very small one. There's also some batting cages. There's a water park. Oh, no, good little park. So maybe you were there to play a little putt.
You know what I would like to be able to do again? I'd like to play sand volleyball again. It's been a long time. I used to do that with my high school friends.
There's a sand volleyball court across from my current apartment. But yeah, college especially, like we had where I lived, we had a sand volleyball court in our front yard. It was summers in college with the sand volleyball court were great.
Such a fun game.
One day we dug like a little hole, just big enough to fit two of them technically, just big enough to fit kiddie pools, and we were just like at the beach in the ocean. Sat there for like all day long, just setting in little kiddie pools that were buried in the sand. Things you do in college, man.
And Google knows that you did that.
Google knows.
That really, first of all, go get vaccinated and stop coming up with reasons not to. Because 2, if your concern is that there are microchips that are going to track you everywhere,
you already got your phone.
we have them. There are microchips absolutely tracking us in our phones. But for me and Rudy, if we let Pokemon Go track our locations at all time, we can hatch eggs faster. Like that, and we are giving up our locations for that.
Hatched a shiny today.
Oh, really? What kind?
Lowland Meow.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it was fun. I'll gladly give up my location for a shiny. I'll give up my social security for a shiny, probably.
It is just bonkers to me. So I have an Apple Watch on my wrist right now. I've got my phone with me 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. I, on some level, have basically established that I am never going to do anything that is going to have the FBI bash down my door, but that if they ever wanted to, they totally could and absolutely would. And if Apple wants to sell my location to either the government or some overseas media conglomerate, they're just gonna be able to. Mm-hmm. My ability to opt out of that went away when I was 13. Like, I was 13 and got a flip phone. There was no going back. Motorola Razr. Shout out to one of the sleekest phones, one of the sleekest pieces of technology in history.
We talked about this. I had the limited edition. It had like a dragon.
I thought you were going to say the dragon. I forgot. Oh, yeah. God. So good. So clutch.
I thought it was so cool.
You were right. Do you know what? If it had all the functionality of my iPhone, if the only aesthetic difference is that I could turn a literal black mirror with a pop socket on the back into a Motorola flip phone with a dragon on it, I would do it in a heartbeat.
It was pretty. I was very happy about it.
You know that they've got the new Motorola that's like it's a touchscreen, but it's a flip phone, and then there's a little function to turn it into basically where it looks like it is a Razr.
It's just I can't imagine that it works.
I don't know how often, but I've seen a little video of it.
I also would have to go back to an Android, which I am not inherently against, but now I think I love my AirPods too much, honestly. Yeah. Although everybody's got buds now. I'm sure they're Motorola buds, so I don't know. Maybe it would work. But I love that.
I had Android. I'm not going back.
But it was literally Google has your timeline for places you navigate to. I'll tell you what. You know what else I'd be bleeped without? Google Maps. I was driving back from St. Joe on Monday from Chiefs camp, obviously. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it was coverage or if it was my internet in St. Joe, if I didn't have all the maps that I usually have downloaded. I don't know what it was. But I was leaving from St. Joe, but I was even farther off the beaten path because I went to Il Lazzarone, which, Il Lazzarone is so good.
I'm jealous.
And then I had just eaten, a pizza into half and had already had a very long sort of early day. So I went to Starbucks and got a little coffee and then was heading back. And my phone navigation wasn't working, but I was driving. And so what I did was, okay, what do I definitely know? I know I am north of where I'm supposed to be right now. So I was driving and my car GPS said south. Just kept going south until I eventually saw signs for highways. And then I saw, I think it was, I don't remember what it was, but one of them was south. And I got on it and it felt right. And so I just drove south for like 15 straight minutes. And then I eventually got Google Maps pop back up again. And Google Maps was basically like, yeah, you were pretty much where you're supposed to be right now. Here's how you get the rest of the way home. Because it's just one of those drives that I don't know where, I don't know how to get anywhere. I can get from home to here and here to home.
And some chicken.
No. No. I could get to Quick from here or Good Sense from here. Those stuff in that little, I can get a little ways around here.
Which Good Sense? There's 2 of them nearby.
I don't even know where the second one is.
Oh, yeah,
the one by Quick Trip is what I know.
Yeah. There's
Across
one
the street
across
from
street
that.
from Quick Trip, then there's one on 135th next to the Hen House.
Never been there.
There is?
Yep. It's in that little shopping. Because anytime I have went to pick up Good Sense for the 3 of us, that's where I go.
Really?
Yeah.
Never gone
Yep.
to that one. But so there are a few things around here that I can get to, but for the most part, I will almost always turn on the GPS because sometimes my way I rationalize it is sometimes there's traffic and sometimes there's a wreck or sometimes there's a speed trap or whatever.
Construction.
I like to think that that's the rationale, but honestly, I just don't know how to get anywhere without it. And so Google or Apple or both forever for the rest of time are going to know where I am at. And I've just I'm not thrilled about it, I guess. I like the idea of being able to go off the grid or whatever, but I can't. And that's okay. Because the alternative is if I'm going to be on the grid, which we all are, may as well lean into it. That's why I'm strapping electronic devices to my wrist. I'm ready to inject microchips into my fingers so I don't have to unlock my car. We've been over this. It's a fight I'm not willing to, get all bloodied for.
Yeah, they can. I've accepted that. I mean, honestly, even if I gave up my phone, I have so many devices that can pinpoint me, and just your car's got stuff in it. Everything's got something in it, right?
Everything's got something.
I just don't. I've stopped caring. Tencent got all my information 20 years ago, probably.
Yeah. Every game, every time you link something to your Google account, I sometimes go, oh man, do I want to give EA Games my Google information so I don't have to log in 15 times? Not really, but yeah, I just will. Google knows that I was at Mort's Martini and Cigar Bar on November 11th, 2017.
That's pretty wild.
November 11th, 2017. My cousin must have gotten married on the 10th. But I don't know that. I know this.
And obviously, it's not even the fact that they still, I guess, have the information, but that it still is, displaying it to you.
If you search...
It's just very surprising.
Google a place that you've been to at some point that, you would have used your Google Maps to navigate to. I don't even know if it needed that. Okay, well, then I don't know if yours will... Really? Why? It's not as good. I've tried them both.
Because it's just... I mean, they're both the same. They're like the exact same.
Beards, Google a place that you would have navigated to somewhat recently. You may need to do it on your computer, which you can't really do because you're streaming it. So I'm not sure if it'll work on mobile. It probably will. And then if you go, there's sort of that little card on the side, that displays all the information for a business. And under the address, there's a little drop-down arrow that you can click. It'll say you visited 4 years ago, and then it will give you the exact bleeping date. Crazy. Did you come up with one, Beards?
I'm working on it.
Okay, can you work on it a little faster? We got to take a break pretty soon.
I'm working on it.
Let's see. Chaotic Warrior also loves Morts, which is very exciting.
Ice Pyro has it right. Corporations are gonna get our data anyway. Might as well make our lives more super convenient. That's my thing. Also, like, I don't have
Yeah.
anything like interesting to hide.
That's what I'm saying. Is like there's not gonna be again. There's not gonna be a reason for the CIA to show up at my door. Like I don't think that we're actually living in what was the movie that they remade? And it was terrible. The war movie with Charlie Sheen, the kids, the Wolverines.
Oh, Red Dawn.
Red Dawn. Thank you. I wanted to say Red October, and I knew that wasn't it.
Red October is a movie.
I don't think
Good
we're living
movie.
in Red Dawn, so I'm not that stressed about it. And so yeah, like Ice Pyro's point, just like convenience and comfort is sort of what I mean. In some ways, is what we're doing a lot of this stuff for, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if corporations are going to make our lives more comfortable, you know, when they couldn't track your location, when you had to build your house by hand. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to chop down a tree that I have to use to build a house. I will let the corporations build the houses and then I'll live in them. And in exchange, they can know where I was when I was 19.
What temperature I like my house at.
Yeah, I've got a robot vacuum. And some of those can map your house, and this mine doesn't. This was not a choice, it's because this one is cheaper. But I've seen stories about some of those smart vacuums that map your house, then selling that information to have something to do with your house layout, your floor plan or whatever. And here's the thing, man, that's kind of creepy. But you know what I haven't had to do in a very long time? Vacuum. Because the robot does it.
This just reminded me because some of this too is just.
I can make the vacuum start right now. In fact, I might because I forgot to start it before I left the house.
Because so much of this too, so much of the reason why people want our data, like everybody thinks it's malicious. Most of the time, it's selling, right? It's companies want the data so they can make more money.
Right, and then they can sell you better ads.
And so part of even just like having like the layout of your home, I'm sure like there's an advertisement aspect to this. And we talked about this on Monday on Instagram ads.
Oh.
Yesterday, let's see, I screenshotted 1, 2, 3,
I've gotten so close to pulling the trigger on some
5, 6,
Instagram stuff.
7, 8 Instagram ads I'd never seen before.
Yesterday?
They're all really bleeping good.
Will you remind me towards the end of the show tonight? We might close them out by just seeing what Instagram ads you've screenshotted.
One of them's custom Switch shells.
Right now, Rudy is quickly going through his phone and deleting the screenshots of all of the various male enhancement ads he's been getting on Instagram.
Yeah, and the thing is too though is these were companies I'd never seen before.
Yeah.
So like a lot of times
the algorithm freaking
because a decent amount of times I'll see the same one every so often, right? But it's a good one. It's one that always intrigues me. This time it was just like 8 new ones, just all on a run. It's just like, oh, and I even caught myself like, what is happening right now?
It's too good. Did you find a place, Beards?
No, it didn't work. It wasn't working on my phone.
All right, Rudy, give us a payoff of one of you, because I really thought Beards was going to be our payoff for this segment.
No.
Give me the funniest Instagram ad that you got.
Oh, funniest.
Or I don't know, your judgment.
I mean, none of them are funny, but
neither was anything else this segment.
Box lunch gifts. They just make, I guess you could say streetwear is what it's essentially called now. But like, here's a yellow sweater, a Kanto region Pikachu.
Yeah, I feel like you should buy that.
Yeah, I really like it.
And if you don't, I might.
It's so
Instagram
good, right?
ads are really good.
It's
Damn
so
it.
good.
Corporations got us again. Even whenever they know that I've been to Buffalo Wild Wings in my adult life, even whenever I had forgotten that information. All praise technology.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page. You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
Jason came in and got this computer connected to the internet for us because I wanted to be able to get Facebook comments on this other monitor in here. It currently says, system shut down. The system is shutting down. Please save all work in progress and log off. And it's just counting down that there is an impending shutdown. Also, Chrome will not update in here because it's no longer supporting, I bleep you not, Windows XP, which is what this computer is actually running.
With Joshua Brisco.
So that's distressing.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Beards, you're going to have to help me out on this one because that liner actually reminded me of something that you'd mentioned, I think, over the weekend that I forgot about. We did not mention on Monday.
Okay.
Do we think that Almost Entirely Sports had a birthday
Yes.
sometime this weekend?
Yes.
How old are we?
Let me check.
Figure that out. In the meantime, Rudy, not that there's any particular reason for it, but could you rummage around in that drawer right there and just see if there's anything, I don't know, sort of like shiny or perhaps noise-making? If there is, yeah, that's perfect right there. That's that good stuff. I think, oh yeah, go ahead. You can keep that one, in fact, there, Rudy. What, do you have a result there, Beards? Because you had the...
August 4th, 2017.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes wasn't playing quarterback yet.
Nope.
He had been drafted, but we did shows on Sports Saturday and Sunday about why they should draft him, but we didn't actually. So we started the show on ESPN Kansas City, Almost Entirely Sports, on August what? 4th?
Yep.
2017. So is the show 4 now?
We are 4.
Hold on 1 second, Rudy. Don't do that again. Beards, can I ask you that question again? How old is Almost Entirely Sports right now?
4 years old.
No, can you say the phrase "we are 4" again?
We are 4.
Somebody, hopefully. I'm saying I hope the show is for somebody.
Oh.
I'm saying the show is for somebody, hopefully.
The show is for somebody. Yeah, I got it.
Boy, those are unpleasant. Yes, Rudy.
Lesbro Game says the show is old enough for preschool. Seems fitting. Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
With all the stuffed animals around?
Yeah, those two.
Hey, we need him to sleep at night, okay?
Yeah, man, this was, especially it's a night show. This way we can just all take our favorite one home with us and then just cuddle it as we fall asleep and then we bring it back in the next day. What's the problem with that? Here's the little nugget of Chiefs stuff today. Eventually I want to talk about Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. We'll probably do that either the second hour. I'll have plenty of time to get to some of that tomorrow. He broke a bone in his hand. Not going to have surgery. 4 to 6 weeks. Could miss the start of the season. Had a few questions about where his salary lines up and everything. So we'll get to some of that before too terribly long. But I think the most interesting stuff that happened today in the Chiefs world came from our friend Matt Verderame. He was on the show Monday. I did not know this story was coming out until after I asked him to come on Monday. But then he came on Monday and said, hey, here's a few things to keep your eye out for in this story I have coming up on FanSided. And then today it came out. The story was great. I tweeted about it. I said there was something that I wanted to talk about from the story that intrigued me. And I'll tell you what I think maybe the biggest sort of surprising, most interesting little tidbit for me was this phrase about Joe Tooney. Tooney's camp wanted a 3-year contract. Kansas City wanted 5. The Chiefs presented 4- and 5-year deals. Tooney signed the latter, being given $16 million annually with 3 fully guaranteed years, a significant commitment to the former second-team All-Pro. I thought that was interesting because usually the team would probably rather have the shorter deal. Now, what I was hinting at on Twitter, that is my sort of working guess, is that if those first 3 years were all going to be guaranteed anyway, if you're the team, you may as well have what almost amounts to team options in year 4 and 5. That's not a perfect comparison to what Joe Tooney's deal actually is, but I'm guessing that's sort of the internal math that the Chiefs were doing. But I would have been fine with a 3-year deal, even if it's 3 fully guaranteed. But again, then if he's great, you're paying him again at the end of 3 instead of maybe waiting 5. Am I right about that? I think the best way to know is to talk to Matt Verderame. We will have your second dose of Matt Verderame in just 3 days whenever we come back.
At JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, at Not That Rudy, at Sports Radio 810. Just do it already. You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
You give me the Italian urban cheese, foot long, chicken teriyaki, a little sweet onion, toast that mother, lettuce, onion, easy pickle, okay, and then some Parmesan and oregano with a bag of baked chips and some sweet tea, and I'm good to go.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
We'll get to Matt Verderame in just a second here, as we've already explained. He was on this Monday to preview the story. The story is out now, and we're going to talk about it a little bit here in a relatively shortened, almost entirely sports. But quick from the Twitch, shout out to Lesbro Games for the Prime subscription on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Twitch channel, twitch.tv/sportsradio810. Don't look at me like that, Beards. I didn't say anything bad. I just didn't get all the letters of Twitch out quite right. It's fine.
We got there.
There was definitely a CH at the end, all right? That's all right. I feel like there's no FCC violation there. Also, Z-Man makes a point about the Joe Thuney contract that I think we'll probably verify with Matt Verderame right now. I'll tell you again, like we told you on Monday, but now you can actually go read it. Go read his piece up on FanSided right now about the Chiefs offseason, all the moves that went into it. Matt, thank you for just beating down the walls here to make sure that you have another chance to talk about, Joe Thuney and everything else in this piece.
It was fun. It was a lot of work. It was calling in a lot of favors, but I thought that their offseason was fascinating, not only from a local Kansas City perspective, but from a national perspective. It's not often that a team that goes 14-2 and pretty much rolls to the Super Bowl decides in the offseason to just demo the house and then still be the Super Bowl favorites. So I wanted to dive into it, and I'm glad I did. It was a lot of fun to write.
And there's just so much stuff sort of sprinkled throughout here. The one thing that I tweeted that I thought was most interesting was the nugget that the Chiefs were looking for 4 or 5 years for Joe Thuney, but his camp was just looking for 3. Now, the contract is still interesting because you get the 3 years that are fully guaranteed, and then the 2 after that are just, as I mentioned, Z-Man on Twitch pointed out, those are just more years that also spread out the signing bonus. So is that the reason that the Chiefs were looking for 4 or 5 there, was to spread out the bonus? And then it basically ends up being a 2-year team option at the end of a 3-year fully guaranteed deal.
Yeah, so basically what happened was, I had written about Thuney's signing right after it happened. I did an exclusive with his agent, Mike McCartney, and he kind of walked me through the whole thing. And essentially, they wanted a 3-year deal because they felt like then Thuney could play 3 more years, maybe an All-Pro once or twice, hit the market again, still in his 20s, cash in one more time. The Chiefs felt like, look, he's at least got 5 good years in him, really good years in him. And so we'd like to sign him for the whole term. Essentially, Thuney's camp was not going to do that. They were not going to go to 5. They were willing to talk about 4, but they weren't going to go to 5 unless the Chiefs went to $16 million per. And Kansas City did it. And it's the highest paying contract ever to an interior offensive lineman in guarantees and in full value. And with the Chiefs guaranteeing the 3rd year, and also then going $16 million per, Thuney's camp just thought it was such a great contract that they didn't turn it down. And if you're the Chiefs, you're right. It's a 3-year deal with 2 team options. So why not? Yeah. I think you end up still with the flexibility that you need on it.
You also wrote more about Trent Williams. I mean, we kind of could intuit some of this, I guess, now of them not being terribly excited about the first-round talents that could have stepped in at left tackle. What did you learn there about, and again, some of this I know we've talked about some, but how close they were for Trent Williams, how severely they were pursuing him, and then kind of the hazy feeling they had to be feeling after they missed out on Williams and then had to look to the draft and then maybe some other plan, which ended up obviously being Orlando Brown.
So this is something that really, if the Chiefs had their druthers, at least back in the beginning of free agency, they would have walked away with Thuney and Trent Williams the same night. They would have been done. Ultimately, the Niners were just willing to go further in their guarantees than the Chiefs were willing to go. Now, is that maybe because the Chiefs just guaranteed Thuney? Hard to say. I couldn't give you a firm answer on that, but I know that the Chiefs, I think guaranteeing the 3rd year for Williams, who's in his mid-30s, was maybe a little bit of a bridge too far. And so once they didn't do that and he went back to the Niners, then it was, okay, well, are we interested in Alejandro Villanueva? Are they interested in Russell Okung, Riley Reef? No indication the Chiefs were ever seriously interested in any of those players. Start looking at the draft. Chiefs draft 31st overall, of course. And I think there was a thought process there of, okay, look, we like some of these kids, but we're not in love with the 5th, 6th best tackle in the draft,
right?
Which is probably what we're going to end up having to take. So, the dialogue starts with Baltimore, and as I wrote in this piece, that was back and forth for a couple of weeks. There were some conversations. A draft calculator ends up getting involved, which I know a lot of people talked about today on Twitter, and that was a source of much discussion. But that really just kind of helped to smooth out the value of things, which is hard when you're not just dealing with draft picks, but you're also dealing with a player and a contract. That makes it hard to pinpoint value sometimes.
Yeah, I think the trade value, like calculator stuff, is all interesting as it goes. But I have found some of the discourse today to be a little less interesting, just because eventually you
Get in line.
have to use the assets you have. Like, and the Chiefs valuing Orlando Brown at a first round pick and then maybe a little bit more doesn't upset me. I guess I don't know.
Well, the funny thing is, first of all, I'm not here to criticize anybody's thought process, but you see these things like, well, Jimmy Johnson's trade value chart was never good. First of all, as I disclosed, the Chiefs weren't using Jimmy Johnson's trade value chart, at least not exclusively.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Jimmy Johnson would argue that Jimmy Johnson's trade value chart worked pretty well when he was winning 2 Super Bowls and building a dynasty. But the point being, the thing that I found most fascinating in talking to people for this story, the Ravens were very interested in Creed Humphrey.
Yeah.
If that trade doesn't happen, if the Chiefs don't trade for Orlando Brown, let's just say the Ravens hold on to Orlando Brown.
Mm-hmm.
They have him, and then they pick where the Chiefs ended up taking Bolton, because that was Baltimore's pick originally. If Baltimore still has that pick, they'd probably take Creed Humphrey.
Yeah.
There's a very real world where Brown and Humphrey are both on Baltimore, and the Chiefs don't have either one of them. But because the Chiefs made the trade for Brown, acquired the second-round pick, they were able to take Bolton, wait a few picks, and then take Humphrey. The only other team that was seriously interested that I'm aware of was the Giants, who picked at 71. So they would have had to wait a little bit, and they would have had to make a move that obviously they didn't make.
Yeah, I love that just because it's one of those fun, very sort of butterfly effect things that would change how both of those offensive lines for 2 perennial AFC contenders would have looked for the next, I don't know, decade maybe. It's super interesting. Also potentially true for Trey Smith. You have information in this story that I don't think I've seen anywhere else about some of the meetings the Chiefs were having about him given his medical condition and how ultimately they still had some risk when they drafted him.
Yeah, did a lot of background work on this, and you're right. I think this was the most interesting part, at least for me. So they had a second-round grade on him. They were a little concerned. They were concerned about the medicals going into the draft process. They thought his tape was good his senior year at Tennessee, maybe a touch inconsistent. And so they went to work on that. They did Zoom interviews with him, Zoom calls, and really fell in love with not only the player but the person. So then it became, well, how comfortable can we get with the medical side of things? And there were a lot of teams in doing the research and talking to people and sources that they took him off the board. They just could not get comfortable with his medical situation, even though it really took place mostly in his sophomore year. And I think for Kansas City, as I wrote in the piece, that once they got to the 5th round, there was a 4-way conversation there. Rick Burkholder was involved, Brett Veach was involved, Clark Hunt was involved, and their doctor Mike Monaco was also involved. And so there was a lot of conversation about how comfortable are we, because with the COVID restrictions, they could not meet with him and do some of the tests that they normally would have done. And they would have had concrete answers to. Ultimately, the 4 of them came to a consensus, say, look, we feel we can give this the green light. If he's still there when we pick, we're going to go ahead and take him. And obviously that's the way it felt. But that was an organizational decision that went all the way to the top of Clark Hunt.
Which is super, because I don't. Do you have any feel for how involved Clark Hunt is on something like that? Because I understand he's the boss, but I don't know. Does he have information that nobody else would have? I don't know.
No, I don't think Clark Hunt would have had information as much as it's just in that situation. Look, if you're the medical staff, if you're Brett Veach, heck, if you're anybody in the organization, you answer to Clark Hunt.
Sure.
And I think at that point, you don't want to make that call without talking to your boss, and all of a sudden it becomes, oh yeah, you know what, he's not medically cleared.
Sure.
And you find out 2 weeks later, and then Clark Hunt says, what happened? I think it was more of a, let's get our minds right, let's get it together. Do we all agree? Are we all on the same page? And from my understanding, from talking to people for the story, they were. They were all on the same page, and so far, it has worked out. I mean, Smith has been phenomenal, both through OTAs and mini camp, and now into training camp. And I firmly believe would have been the starter regardless. But with Laurent and Duvernay-Tardif out now, obviously he's in line to start.
We got 2 minutes here, and I got 2 more topics I want to hit real quick. You write about Devin Key a little bit towards the end of the story here, and it sounds like if the Chiefs had not used that pick on Trey Smith, there may have been a world in which they would have used it on Devin Key, who they ended up getting as an undrafted free agent.
They didn't have a 7th round pick. If the Chiefs had a 7th round pick, they probably would have used it on Devin Key.
And it's kind of funny. They used it on Bo Peep Keys. They essentially like
that is actually kind of hilarious. But if they had a 7th rounder, he probably would have been the pick. They ended up getting into somewhat of I don't want to say a bidding war, but a very contentious. They're trying to fight off of teams. There were 8 teams that were trying to sign him. 6 that made formal offers. 2 that made 3 years offers. Kansas City was one of them, and Key and his agent felt that, hey, this is the best place for us. We think we can make the 53. And I would tell you that if he plays well on special teams, I think he has a really good shot.
Last thing, you tweeted that you can't remember a story which you've left so much on the cutting room floor. Give me something that didn't make the story that you thought was interesting.
People that are around Noah Gray cannot stop raving about Noah Gray. I could have written 2,000 words on his offseason and him working with George Kittle and Robert Tunyon down in Nashville, working with Bruce Kittle, George's father, on a lot of mental exercises and mindfulness, yoga, meditation. Also worked with George Kittle's sister, who's part of the Thunderbird Performance, which is the family's business. Just a lot of really interesting stuff. He's a tough kid from Boston who a lot of people in the league really rated as a kid who, if he's 10 pounds heavier, if he's an inch taller, he's maybe a top 100 pick. So it was really fascinating. And I think the Chiefs feel they got a steal, and everybody I talk to says the exact same thing. I think he's going to be a really, really intriguing player to watch.
Matt, thank you for coming back around for your second shot this week. We'll probably talk to you next week after you write that 2,000-word story on Noah Gray's offseason.
All right, sounds good.
Go check it out on fansided.com. It's his pinned tweet on Twitter, @MattVerderame. Follow him there. Click the story. There's a ton we didn't get to here, so you should really, genuinely, go read it.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I'm Doug Brown. The Seahawks waived defensive end Aldon Smith. He was arrested back in April, just 2 days after signing with Seattle. accused of choking a man unconscious after an altercation in a Louisiana coffee shop. Ravens first-round pick Rashad Bateman will miss a number of weeks with a right leg injury. The rookie wideout had abdominal and core injuries earlier in training camp. More than 5 years after Baylor fired football coach Art Briles, the NCAA rules today neither Briles nor the school violated any NCAA rules in its handling of sexual assault allegations on campus, including against football players. Investigative journalist Jessica Luther.
There are just no rules here around it, and the NCAA is nothing if not rules. I mean, that is how they tell us what they value, and I think that's part of what the pain of this today is that it's just so clear who they do not value.
Jessica Luther on Spain and Fitz. Baylor does go on probation for 4 years for other violations related to academic misconduct and improper recruiting practices. Baseball, Dodgers outfielder Mookie Betts goes on the IL today with a right hip injury. Dodgers right now on ESPN in the 5th inning in Philadelphia, leading the Phillies 3-2. J.R. Smith, who played 16 years in the NBA after coming out of high school, now plans to enroll at North Carolina A&T and hopes to join the golf team if he's cleared by the NCAA.
Hey, it's Greeny, and we are now knee-deep in the NFL preseason. So many storylines, quarterback battles, and more to keep an eye on. We'll be all over it with you Monday. It's me, Greeny, starting 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN+.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
He had 2 homers, and they were both to Vogelbach of the Mariners, who is a large adult son, and he, he's so much fun to watch. Not because he's good, but he's just a big boy, and I like watching big boys.
With Joshua Brisco.
Fun. I like watching big boys hit.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
It's not on purpose. It just keeps happening. We talked to David Lesky shortly after Brady Singer has a not very good start. It is a tradition at this point. Also, Lesky pointed this out on Twitter that this is the 3rd different show that I've talked to Lesky on over the last 3 weeks. So I can see if I can finagle my way onto the Border Patrol next week, Lesky, and we can try to get you on very early in the morning if you can make that work, just so we can get the complete sweep.
Well, I mean, there's more too. That'd be great. There's also the weekend show. I mean, there's a lot of options here. So
that's true.
We need to make this work.
So in a way, I believe, maybe I'm wrong, I believe you have played interviews you've done with Lesky on Sports Sunday or Saturday before.
I'm sure we have. I don't know if it was within the last 3 weeks.
Well, no, baseball. It needs to be each week. It's called Talking for the Cycle.
Yeah.
Where
I like it.
I have talked for the cycle. The really unfortunate thing is I don't think it's in the month of August, but within the last 30 days or so, I may have talked for the cycle, and I'd love to bring you along on the ride with me.
Next time.
You've been on Darren and Sterling over on ESPN Kansas City recently. You've been on Baseball Tonight. I think you're on Baseball Tonight Monday with Sterling.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, can Sterling ever get within 100,000 yards of me in terms of being a radio professional and radio excellence? Absolutely not. And we know that. I know that. Sterling knows that. But it's still nice to just really try to get you. I'm glad we're finally getting you some airtime, Lesky.
Yeah, it's clear that I need it because you don't hear my voice quite enough on 810.
Well, I'll tell you what, you might need it. If anybody out there is listening to this segment excitedly but is not yet a subscriber to the Inside the Crown newsletter, I promise you, it is insidethecrown.substack.com. It is, I think it's, at least for me, the single, quintessential must-have to know what's going on with the baseball team that you don't really want to watch most days. It's an incredible resource that Lesky just does great work in consistently. And again, usually we end up talking about Brady Singer. But honestly, I texted you not even thinking. I did not know who was starting today's game whenever I reached out. Sure. Because why would I? But I did know that I want to talk about Daniel Lynch. I want to talk about some of the good things. I also want to know what Edward Olivares did to Dayton Moore's dog. Whatever. I don't know. We have so many places we could go that aren't Brady Singer. We will not start with him at least.
Well, the thing is, you mentioned, people don't want to watch this team. The upside of young starting pitching that's interesting. Especially, I mean, they got, if you want to include Singer, which some people would, I choose not to in this case.
Mm-hmm.
But of their now 6 starters, half of them are guys that you go, you know what, I should watch Carlos Hernandez pitch.
Right.
I should watch Chris Bubich. I should watch Daniel Lynch. And they're interesting. That's the upside of young pitching versus young hitting. And it'd be great to have both, obviously. But on a going nowhere team, young pitching, you're going to tune in from the first inning until they're pulled.
100%.
And so that's actually, I think I wrote this at like the Mike Minor starts, whatever. I mean, I'm watching, but I'm like, I can't muster up emotion to care that much about the result. Brad Keller is the same way, even though he's basically as young as these guys. But when Hernandez is on the mound, I am watching every single pitch. I mean, I'm not. I guess I'm watching every single pitch anyway because I'm a nerd. But like, I'm really focusing. And Lynch, I'm really focusing. And Bubich, I'm really focusing. And Singer, I'm really seething. And and it's nice to have something to care about in another lost season. Yeah. But it's good because those 3 have been. I mean, they're not always perfect, but they've been really fun to watch for a little while now.
You're 100% right, and you've also gotten, like, some really great outings from Salvi that, like, should keep it from being kind of as joyless as it feels sometimes. But I think that's what it is for me, is it just feels, and again, I honestly, man, this is probably, like, sloppy radio to say, I feel like this, I don't know why. But, like, Nicky Lopez has some really fun moments. This team has some good defensive flashes. You have gotten the bat of Salvador Perez. Things have gotten bad for Carlos Santana from the moment the Royals decided not to trade him because they had a year and a half of control for him. So that one has gone away. And I don't really need to see more Michael A. Taylor at bats. But like there are bright spots. And I honestly, this is what I really think it is. I don't think I'm even making this judgment on the current Royals. I think this happened whenever they lost 97 games in a row earlier this year, and I just got tired of watching that. Yeah, twice. The 2 times. Yeah, the two times that they lost 57 consecutive games. I feel like I just kind of checked out a little bit, and it's hard to be pulled back in.
The interesting thing about this team is they're not always fun. But when they're fun, they're really fun.
Yeah.
I mean, even Monday's game, which was that crazy, and you had the Carlos Hernandez start to lock you in at the beginning, and then it was just so back and forth. That was a fun. I mean, I wish the result was different, but from a baseball perspective, that was a really fun game to watch. And I can only imagine being a Yankees fan going, "Oh, finally got the lead, and it's gone. Oh, finally got the lead again, and it's gone. Finally got the lead." And 4 straight innings, it's gone every single time. I mean, that was a fun game. You had a big hit from Nicky Lopez, Hunter Alberto big hit.
And then Nicky Lopez took a big hit and then fielded the next ground ball after it because he's made of adamantium, I guess.
I mean, I'm surprised he didn't have a goiter after that one that hit him. But it was
what a
goiter
good
on the radio.
word. I think so. I don't feel like
I said it twice. So
you did say it twice. I don't feel like that's a profane. It's just
I don't know.
It's an unpleasant thing, but it's just a medical thing.
The imagery it evokes in your mind, I think, maybe the FCC won't like that. I don't know, but we'll see. If you get fined, go ahead and bill. I don't know, St. John. Anyway.
InsideTheCrown.LLC or Inside the Crown LLC is going to have to pay our fines for the word. I have now Googled goiter and have scrolled down Google Images to a point that it's starting to get very, very worrisome. Like we are in risky click territory for sure.
I mean, the things you've Googled when I've been on the air, I feel like that's one of the lesser issues as far as your internet there.
Yeah, I know that.
But
it's true.
But yeah, I mean, this is like even today, they lost 5-2. They had a bunch of chances, but they didn't cash in on any of them. But like, it was kind of interesting once the bullpen cavalry came in because they had a really good game from the bullpen today.
Dude, that was such let's guess when I tell you, no one else can hear because I'm whispering. That was such an incredible way of you saying it got interesting once Brady Singer got out, which is what you said. You just said it so diplomatically that I wanted to commend you for it.
Thank you. I tried, but yeah, I mean, it was today. I always think this is me personally. I don't think there's a lot of people like this. I really like watching the scorching hot games on television from the comfort of my own home.
Yeah, I get that.
Because I just want to see like Tyler Wade. There was that sequence. I can't remember what inning it was. He was 3-2 and he kept running, and you'd see him on first base and he was like hands on knees. You know the meme that everybody thinks is always Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like he was that woman.
Yes.
And I was just waiting for him to fall over, which is awful. But
he kept stealing Tim's, then run back, and then it was a pop up on a hit and run, and he came back. That really was maybe the most memorable thing that happened today because I was cracking up and also a little worried for him.
It was and I don't know. I enjoy watching these. I enjoy them more from the comfort of my own home, where I can turn the air to a crispy 69 degrees or 70.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to go with. But yeah, it was that was even entertaining. So I think that the thing about this team, they're kind of boring, but they're also really fun when they're fun.
Yeah.
And so, hey, you know what? A bad team, I'll take a team that's fun half the time.
Well, and I mean, I think my biggest sort of gripe earlier in the season was that a bunch of these young pitchers obviously weren't all in the rotation yet. I mean, who was at the very beginning? I mean, it was a very different rotation.
Duffy, Singer, Minor, Keller.
It was just Singer, Junis. Yeah, jeez. I mean, Brady Singer was really, and I guess Keller to some extent, but was the only guy that had the intrigue there. I am interested to watch Chris Bubich. All the guys you've rattled off, that argument is totally fair. I think I checked out, and checking out was easier than checking back in again in August.
Yeah, that's fair.
Even with there being something that does matter for the long run. And so let's talk about Daniel Lynch specifically, because obviously we've belabored this point, but I mean his debut was absolutely atrocious. He came back and was perfect, and now as you've written about in the news, perfect in his first start back, I should say. And then he's had a bunch of starts that I think I can accurately summarize as being like pretty effective and super interesting, while not always being incredibly precise. Can you kind of unpack what you've been looking at in terms of Daniel Lynch not always having his full command, but also being extremely interesting as a young pitcher?
Yeah, we talked about this last week, I think, didn't we? That he'd had 3 starts. He's not had 4, but the 3 starts back. The first start, he had everything working, and he dominated the Tigers. Great. The next start was the Blue Jays start, and that one, that's a tough start, man. I mean, being the first opposing pitcher in Toronto in almost 2 years, and against that lineup, I mean, for him to go 6 innings and give up 3 runs, that was something. I really thought that was impressive.
Yeah.
And then, against the White Sox, he didn't have his control was fine. His command wasn't wonderful. And so he kind of had that working against him. But he had a really good slider going. He got a lot of strikeouts. And then last night, he looked really good, I thought, until that ground ball that he fielded and kind of grabbed, I think, his left side, and the trainers came out, and he was fine and all that. But he kind of got hit hard after that. And I don't know, that for a young pitcher, I think that the interesting thing is they don't really know. Sometimes you feel something and then it goes away. I mean, as non-athletes, that happens. You stand up, you step wrong, and you go, oh, my hamstring's shot, and then 2 seconds later, it's totally fine. like there's that feeling of I'm never gonna walk again,
right.
And then you're like, I could use an ice cream sandwich, and you get up and don't even think about it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just me.
I've never had an injury that was not cured by an ice cream sandwich.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. But but I wonder a little bit if he was kind of being hesitant because he probably was fine, but didn't want to tweak anything. And so I thought that he kind of struggled from that perspective. And and his control was off, but it was off after that. So I don't know. I feel like he was maybe a little bit, I don't want to say intimidated, but I think the Yankee uniform, look, it doesn't matter who's wearing it. It's the New York Yankees, and if it's your first start against them, I think you're going to have some wide eyes. And there are very few pitchers who I feel like wouldn't. And so I think he had a little bit of struggle there. But, I mean, all in all, he's really progressed nicely since that first start, because he's really gotten the swing and miss. The slider has been just ridiculous over his last two starts. And you're starting to see that slider that everybody talked about that made him ace potential. And yeah, I mean, it's just fun to watch when he's on. And the key for him, Chris Bubich has his changeup, right? And if that's on, he's good, but it really helps if he has a fastball. Lynch is the same way with slider and fastball. If his fastball is on, the slider becomes unhittable. It's already a really good pitch. I mean, it's already he doesn't need the fastball for it to be good. But if he's got his fastball working, to play those two pitches off each other is it's hell for opponents. Yeah. And then last night he threw, I want to say 3 or 4 just bonkers good changeups. And so, if you're up there and you've got this tall, lanky lefty who comes at you at 95 and then drops an 84-mile-per-hour slider when you're looking fastball, and then when you finally say, okay, I'm looking slider, he throws a changeup that you identify as a fastball in your head. He's swinging an hour and a half early. It's just, it's when he's got it working, he is really, really fun to watch. And last night excluded, his control has been good too. And I feel like there's very little more frustrating when you're watching a team than just watching them walk the world. And Lynch, for the most part, doesn't walk the world. He doesn't. I mean, he walked 4 last night, but typically I think he'd walked 4 in 17 innings since he came back, or 17 might be low. I can't remember what the number, 19 innings maybe. But he's been really fun to watch, even though he wasn't great last night. But it's been nice to see some young pitching have success.
Okay, so I want to ask you to do something that I don't think we've asked you to do in quite a while, and in fact, Beards was just in the studio, and so I feel like we're going to have proper backing for this. So Beards, why don't you go ahead and set the vibe? Lesky. David Lesky of InsideTheCrown.substack.com. Also on Royals Review, but InsideTheCrown.substack.com. We'll go there first. If I make you rank the young pitchers on the Royals right now, and we're going to say guys who have made an appearance with the Kansas City Royals. So we're including Jackson Kowar. I would also like to include Carlos Hernandez.
Sure.
You're not going to include Asa Lacy, and it's up to you. If you can go ahead and include Brad Keller if you'd like. If you are going to rank the young pitchers that have made outings as a member of the Kansas City Royals in terms of what you are expecting from them in the next 5 years, how would you rank these guys? And also, will you go from top to bottom or bottom to top?
I'm going to go bottom to top.
I think that's fun. Okay, great.
Because I want to save some intrigue.
I love that.
I'm going to use Keller.
Last? He's last?
No, it's not. I'm saying he's in there.
Okay, yeah.
The last player is today's starter.
Oh, no!
I don't think we're talking about him, so I'm just going to not say his name. But
no, well, we can talk about him in a second, but that's...
His name rhymes with Shady Ringer.
Oh, man. Oh, boy.
I'm sorry, Shady. I did it to you.
Oh, boy. You've got Carlos Hernandez somewhere above Brady Singer right now, and that is... Okay, yeah, nope, it's your list.
That's right.
It's your list. It's your list. It's your list. It's your list. I'm not even saying it's wrong. I'm just nervous.
Bradley Keller, who has looked better but hasn't looked so good in a couple starts now. So he's next up. Plus, the thing about Keller, he may not be on the team in 5 years because he's only got 3 years of team control left. No, I'm sorry, 2 years of team control after this season. And at this point, are you going to sign him to an extension? I don't think so. Not after this.
Well, you're sure as F not going to do. You're not going to trade him. You got 2 years of control left.
Well, look, Dayton hates to trade guys.
You can't build your organization through trades.
You just can't.
You can't do it.
Find me one place that's ever made their team better by trading.
One team in the division.
Point out that he made that comment while they were facing the White Sox?
So absurd.
Who have got homegrown players.
I believe the starter that night was Dylan Cease, who they picked up from the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, you
Eloy
said Cease.
Jimenez.
You said Cease. I've had multiple people, including Rudy, say Keese. How do you
No, I
pronounce his
said
name?
Cease.
You said
Dylan
Cease?
Cease,
Maybe
yes.
I've been effing it up. All right, never mind. Go ahead.
It's you. It's Cease. And then, they the night before, I believe they gave up a game-winning home run to Eloy Jimenez. They also got from the Cubs.
And from heaven.
And from heaven, yeah, because, we all know what happened there. Then there's Yoan Moncada, Michael Kopech. But, yeah, don't make that statement when you're facing the White Sox. Anyway, Brad Keller was next. And then, now it gets tough because I've got 4 guys left.
Do you want a tier break? Do you want to make a tier list of it also, or you just rank them?
No,
Never mind.
I just need to rank them. Because we got Coar, we got Bubic, we got Lynch, we got Singer.
Yeah.
No, we got
Singer's,
Hernandez left.
yeah.
Singer's already out.
Yeah.
I've eliminated him. This is really difficult. I'm going to say the problem is I think any of these could be number 1 because of what they've shown at times. But I am going to go with Chris Bubic, number 4. Jackson Coar, number 3. Carlos Hernandez, number 2. And Daniel Lynch, number 1.
Several things, but first, housekeeping. Where would you drop Asa Lacy right now? If you had to put him
I would probably put him behind Bubic right now. Hey, look, if you haven't done it above high A, which,
totally
I
fair.
get it. It's fine. He could very easily be number 1 next year. Very easily. But right now, I think he's behind Bubic.
That's fine. I'm not going to hold you to that. Talking about Carlos Hernandez, then, make the case that right now, of the young pitchers who have made a start for the Royals, you are second most optimistic about Carlos Hernandez.
Okay, this is total recency bias. I will admit that. But he's been so good lately. And what I love about Carlos Hernandez, and this is such a juxtaposition with Brady Singer, Carlos Hernandez has 5 pitches. and they are all, at times at least, above average. And what I love about it is, well, 2 things about it. One, if something's not working, you aren't relying on the one other pitch you have.
Right.
if you've got 5 pitches you can deal with. And then what I love about what he's done, the last 2 starts, totally different way of pitching. And both starts have been awesome. And I mean, really, he's been good for 3 starts now, and that's fine. But the thing about Hernandez, he's got as good a stuff as anybody. The issue with him has always been health. He missed time in the minors because he couldn't stay healthy. And that's a concern. Health with any pitcher is a concern. But that's why he hadn't pitched above A ball before last season. It's because he just couldn't stay on the mound long enough to get promoted. And he seems to have, and he stayed healthy now for 2 years at this point, knock on wood. But I don't know. I just see the stuff that he has, and if he can throw strikes, he doesn't even have to have command. He just has to have control because his stuff is so good that I think he has a chance to be a true horse at the top of a rotation. I'm not saying he will, but I think he's got that stuff. And I love the pitch mix. I love everything about it. I just think that, like I said, if he can throw strikes, he can be as good as anybody, honestly.
It's super interesting to me. And also, I mean, I remember you writing about that at some point after one of his recent starts, that idea of he can beat you in a variety of ways, which is, I mean, incredibly valuable. Beards, let's go ahead. And that concludes the game. And the game has been concluded. There you go. David Lesky's top Royals young pitchers rankings. Next time I'll have a catchier title for it.
I like that.
So here's the follow-up to that. So you're incredibly optimistic about this guy that's got 5 pitches that are all above average, and you are pretty well sort of burnt out on the guy who's genuine. I'm not trying to be snarky or to speak out of turn, who seems genuinely uninterested in trying to develop a third pitch. Let's talk about Brady Singer for a second, because we do always have this conversation right after he has a bad start, and here we are. How out are you? How worried are you about Brady Singer?
I'm worried. At the same time, it's easy to say that he's the same pitcher in this start as he was in his first start. I've said that a handful of times this season on your show.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is he had an off season to work, but he also had a pretty good rookie season in 2020. And it's difficult to get guys, especially like him, to make changes when there isn't failure to rebound from.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm I mean, every start of his annoys me, but I am willing to say, look, I want to see what he does with an off season after a bad season, because it is difficult to throw new pitches in season, even if you're at AAA doing it. It's a tough ask for pitchers to develop this pitch, feel comfortable enough with it to throw. I get it, and so I'm very frustrated because he seems unwilling to throw it, and I'm honestly more frustrated with the way he goes about it, and the way he answers questions. I mean, I've cited this far too many times, but I think back to that Oakland series, and he comes out, he goes, well, I made good pitches, and then I look back, and they're down the middle. I'm like, no, that's not a good pitch. And I'll give him, maybe he hasn't had a chance to look at it, maybe he thought they were, and then he looks, he goes, oh, wow, I was way off. But at the same time, I will never forget that next day, Chris Bubich hung a couple changeups, as he's done many times this season, and he comes out directly after the game, same timing as Singer, and he goes, man, my location was terrible. And you go, well, why? If he knows, why doesn't Singer, that sort of thing. And so that's where my frustration lies with him. But I'm not totally out. If he comes into spring training in 2022 and he's throwing a sinker and slider and that's it, I'm done. I'm absolutely, unequivocally done. So I'm gonna give him the opportunity to learn this changeup or whatever. A splitter doesn't have to be a changeup. Something different for that third pitch. I think that he deserves that opportunity. But at the same time, it's really frustrating. And I'm going to give a little preview of what's in tomorrow's article. There are, I can't remember now if it's 9 pitchers or 10 pitchers. I don't know if he's one of 9 or if there's 9 others. I've blanked on that. There are only either 9 or 10 pitchers in baseball who only throw 2 pitches 10% of the time or more. Everybody else has at least 3 pitches that are 10% of the time. Starters, I'm talking about. Of those 9 or 10, Brady Singer, his use of his third pitch is lower than anybody else's use of their third pitch. And there's some guys, Jacob deGrom is on that list, but he throws a changeup. He's a technicality because he throws a changeup like 9.8% of the time. Sure. So it rounds to 10, but he's on there. In fairness, but Brady Singer coming into today threw his changeup 3.4% of the time. And today he threw it twice in, 67 pitches, 57, whatever it was. 2. Now, only 1 was actually tracked for the record. I'm giving him credit for a 4-seam fastball that I'm 95% sure was a changeup and just tracked wrong, partially because his changeup isn't very good and he throws it too hard. But that sort of thing is really frustrating because I counted at least 3 at-bats today where if he had a third pitch, it may not have worked, but it would have at least given them something different to look at. And then he gets to the third time through the order, threw 6 pitches, and they were all sinkers and sliders again. And what happened? They went 3 for 3. It's not rocket science here. If you've got 2 pitches, you're a reliever. And here's the problem: I don't think he'd be a good reliever because unless his velocity ticks up more than the average starter to reliever velocity ticks up, I don't think he has good enough control or command to be able to sit even 95, 96 with the way he throws his slider. And so at this point, it's kind of starter or nothing for him. And right now it's kind of nothing.
I mean, I'm not living and dying on Brady Singer, and I kind of, even then, I feel like he just broke into my house and kicked my dog. I know. That was brutal. And I feel like it was very fair also to say, yeah, take this entire offseason and take next spring training, and if you come out in spring training and you're really working on some stuff and you've been working on all offseason trying to implement it, cool. There is sign of growth there. But, God, I mean, just a dude on the corner on a soapbox with a sign, wearing a sandwich board that says the end is nigh.
I mean, it would, watching him though, it's like nothing ever changes, and that's so frustrating. Especially because when you look at the rest of the team, Chris Bubich, they said, "Hey, throw your curveball more." He throws the curveball more. And it's working.
So I'm a baseball dummy, at least compared to you at this point. I'm willing to say this. I said this to Rudy earlier. I almost texted this to you today to say fully, Tell me if I'm an idiot here. I will not be offended if I got this observation wrong. And I told Rudy this before the show that I was going to ask you today because I forgot to text it to you. It just feels like every Brady Singer start, it feels so similar. It looks so similar.
They're all the same.
It feels like they're all the same. And if I can see that, I think every single major league hitter probably can too.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny because then you get people. I mean, this is totally Twitter, but why don't they just trade him? Who wants him? And here's the thing: every team would want Brady Singer. Every single team would give an offer to Dayton Moore for Brady Singer, but it would be garbage in return because of what he's done. So you can't even trade the guy right now because you're never going to get enough value to give up the upside because there is still upside. If he can figure out a third pitch, there's upside. He's a number 3 or 4 starter, which is valuable.
Super. You'd like for him to do that with you, though, and not sell him at his lowest possible value.
Right. You don't want to trade Brady Singer for Joe Moppinglow and end up watching him start Game 4 of the ALCS for somebody or whatever.
Is that a real Lesky? I need you to cut the bleep with me. Is that a real name?
Yeah, look him up. Look up Joe Moppinglow.
Is this gonna be an internet? I'm gonna see something worse than the goiters I saw earlier.
No. Joe Moppinglow was a very famous goiter haver back in the 1930s. So
how do I spell? Google does not know what to do here.
I am making this up.
Okay. I googled Joe Moppinglow, and Google was like, "Looks like there aren't many great matches for your search."
Like, you sure about that one?
I don't know, man. Listen, we've had Lesky on where he has made up baseball names before. At one point, he said Mickey Mantle. That's ridiculous. That's a fictional mouse and then a thing over the fireplace. That's not a real name.
He just was trying to think of a name. He was looking around his room. He saw a mouse. He saw a mantle. Put it together.
Yeah, I mean that's what you do, right? That's how writers come up with their fictional names.
So by googling Joe Moppinglow, some of the results that I've had that don't match are concerning.
I don't want to know. I'm glad I'm not in the studio today because I feel like there would be a harassment charge coming.
I'm gonna click the first one.
Oh God, don't do it.
I mean, and it's a 2. There's no way. Okay, I think this is a kid's book and not something absolutely cursed, but it sent me to a book called Robots Go Wild.
Oh.
But it's got an illustration of a robot and a kid on the front. It looks like
Captain
Underpants.
A fun game. Is it children's book or adult film?
That's right. And that I feel like should be clearer. I feel like that should never be a question ever, because all of a sudden there's probably a pretty good example of some like famous movie that sounds very much like it would be the name of like a cartoon that some kid just saw and put the VHS in. I'm sure that exists. I don't know what it would be.
Oh, yeah.
I'm stalling to see if any of us can come up with anything.
I came up with Joe Moppinglow, so I'm done.
Yeah, you more than carried your weight on the show tonight. I'm really interested to read all of the things you just said, but in written form in tomorrow's Inside the Crown. So insidethecrown.substack.com is where you can join the Brady Singer fan club and also read the work of one David Lesky.
You can make a new Bitly.
Brady's bit.ly.
Lesky loves Brady Singer.
All right, hold on.
Brady
I'm
Singer
gonna make a new Bitly. Here's a very.
Speaking of Billy's,
ask a question, Rudy. Or just make a funny quip.
I mean, like, Bobby Witt should be in the big leagues, right?
Oh yeah, when's that happening?
Take away. We're obviously taking away. Here's the thing: they shouldn't bring him up until May. Don't waste service time. But like, all 3 of them should probably be PO. Melendez,
give me
Prado,
your theory, Lesky.
Witt.
You want to hear my? You actually want to hear my theory?
Yes.
I've heard the theory, and I honestly kind of don't want to hear it again.
I don't think you know the theory. This is a new one.
I don't know that you know the theory.
I think there's at least a chance, as I'm qualifying this as hard as humanly possible. I think there's a chance that we see Mr. Witt Jr. on Friday evening at Kauffman Stadium.
Hold the phone. Wait, what? Okay. Lesky. I have tickets to the game on Friday. Do not do this to me, Lesky.
I'm going too. So here's my thought process. And look, I've been wrong before twice there was a third time I thought I was wrong, turned out I was right. It was a whole big thing. But,
Never been wrong.
Yeah, well, a couple times. But Dayton Moore has kind of been beating around the bush about, hey, Bobby Witt's knocking on the door. He's really forcing our hand, blah, 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 blah. They have an off day tomorrow to hype it up. They have a whole day before the Cardinals series starts to say, hey, guess who's coming to Kansas City? And I don't know. It just feels both right and wrong at the same time. But I don't know. I think I'm like 45% that it's going to happen, which means I'm 55% that it's not. So I can't be wrong either way. I'm so close to the middle that I am in perfect position to be right no matter what.
I got chills.
I
just felt some chills.
I think that's perfect because the Chiefs play a game on Saturday, and so for the Royals to milk exactly one game out of this, I think is perfect. All right, so anyway, Lesky, we gotta let you go. Follow him on Twitter at DBLesky, and if you want to read his work in the Inside the Crown newsletter, there's a URL that doesn't really matter. What you can do is bit.ly/LeskyLovesBrady, and that'll take you right there. And you can subscribe for free. And there's all sorts of great stuff on a daily basis there from the Inside the Crown newsletter. It's worth your time, especially if you are a family member of Brady Singer's, in which case sign up on Friday for that one.
Perfect.
And then you can also get ready for Bobby Witt, so that'll be exciting. Oh, but Rudy right now is just fanning himself, just trying to get some oxygen.
I'm surprised he's upright, honestly.
Barely.
Was it yesterday was Salvi's 10 years, like 10 years in the big leagues?
Mm-hmm.
So I just so happened was at Salvador Perez's debut. We didn't go down there to see his debut. We just happened to be in Tampa. He got called up, and it was like, oh boy, here we go. So to just so happen to be at Bobby Witt's, the next Royals Hall of Famer.
You think they're going to announce it tomorrow to hype it?
Well, I thought it was going to. My theory, see, this is where I'm already wrong. I thought it might be like 5:30 tonight after a bad game. But he's in the lineup in Omaha. Which, by the way, Prado and Melendez are both homered in Omaha. But, I don't know. We'll see. I could see it. I don't think it'll be announced. I think it'll be leaked if it happens. And that's I have air quotes. You can't see them though.
I'm gonna tweet it out and see if I force their hand. I think what we need to do.
Tell me Bobby Witt is on his way.
Yes.
To Kansas City.
Sources with sources tell me that Bobby Witt Jr. could be called up. Here it is, Lesky, as early as tomorrow. Because that's safe.
I'll like that tweet.
People can do that, and it would be a little too serious. I got a check mark now. I can't lose it by tweeting fake Bobby Witt news. But Beards.
Tweet it, Beards.
Can you hear me, Beards? You listen, Beards?
I can hear.
Listen to me. I am telling you, off the record, but you can run with it, that my sources who have sources are telling me that Bobby Witt Jr. could be called up as early as tomorrow. It's not going to happen tonight, but then at that point, it can no longer be wrong. Tweet it.
That's brilliant.
It really is. Thank you, Lesky.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Follow him on Twitter at DBLesky. There's also the Bitleys, Inside the Crown, all of that. You get it. Beards, you haven't tweeted it yet.
No, I haven't. I got a show to run.
Hurry up, Beards.
I mean, do you? When has that ever stopped you from being on your phone or computer ever before?
Reddit's really the problem here.
That's true. If I asked him to put it in the Royals
subreddit, post it on Reddit.
Reddit's down?
Yeah,
that's why
you've been on my mobile.
That's why you've been so attentive. I thought your eyes were curiously clear and that you were listening at a surprisingly useful clip.
No, just Reddit's down.
It's because Reddit's down. Bobby Witt Jr. Friday?
It's the last Firework Friday of the season.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe they've just been waiting this whole time for the last Firework Friday. Buck night.
I hope that's been their logic this whole time. It's like, let's save it for the last Firework Friday.
I mean, at this point, I'd believe just about anything.
Except for the idea that Brady Singer just told someone somewhere that he'd like to develop that third pitch. That Rudy would not believe.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports anywhere, anytime? Well, you can. Just search for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts. This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
The baseball's always trying to start with snow on the ground and ending with snow on the ground. Baseball, hey, baseball, are you sure?
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
That liner's just it, man. Like, I used to love baseball, and then I at least liked baseball. And I just...
Then you became a Royals fan, and then you hated baseball.
Because everything Lesky said at the beginning of the segment, like, to be honest, whenever Carlos Hernandez was getting some of his first couple of starts, it didn't even move my radar. And it was barely a blip on my radar. Because I think I'm programmed at this point to expect very little and to still be disappointed. Mm-hmm. And they are not an uninteresting baseball team. The very worst baseball teams are bad and old. Like, that's the worst thing you can be. And the Royals are like bad and middle-aged. You know, they're bad and have a decent mix of guys like Salvi and Witt who are good at baseball, but probably don't have they're not entering their prime, right?
For sure.
You have all these young pitchers who should be entering the years prior to their prime, even, which is maybe sort of the juiciest time to try to get excited about a rotation.
The pre-prime?
The pre-prime.
I don't know if I like that.
No, I don't know that I do either. I said it out loud myself, and then I immediately wanted to backpedal away from the pre-prime.
It's probably also like an Optimus Prime joke.
The medium rare?
Well, that's what you want to be, though, right?
Well, yeah, medium rare is perfect.
That's fair.
Beards, you're a pervert and a food pervert, but you don't eat well-done steak, right? That would have come up by now. Okay.
No.
It's like you enjoy steak.
Yes.
Can I hear my thing on like well-done steak? Is I think this is
fine.
This is not.
It's fine.
This is not a new take probably, but you order a well-done steak if you don't really like steak that much. Then you get it well done, you put steak sauce on it, meh.
Or you're like my grandmother who's in her 80s, and that was just how she was raised, is they just made well-done steak all the time.
But even your grandma doesn't really like steak. Your grandma likes...
Leather?
Likes her childhood... Cow leather, yeah. I mean, I think that... And that's fine. It's just a different thing, you know?
Like my dad, and it's the only time I'm ever disappointed in him. But he just likes all of his food to be burnt. Like, he likes it burnt.
I don't know.
And not like a little burnt, because like some people like stuff to be like a little burnt.
I love a good charred chicken pasta kind of thing, you know?
He likes his food like really burnt, and I don't understand it. It's
the
only time I'm ever disappointed to call my father. I've told him this. He knows. Because otherwise, he's a great man.
And you, of course,
that whole burnt food thing.
Well, and Rudy,
but every time we go out and get a steak, and I get a medium rare, and he gets a medium, I look at him and call him a child.
Wait, so
medium's fine.
You're talking this much bleep on medium for him?
Oh yeah, no medium.
You're disowning your father over medium steak?
Rare, or I can't. Does he get medium or just well done? I don't know. Point being, like medium rare is the only good answer.
What do you guys do with burgers?
Medium, usually.
I definitely go more rare than the average person, I would say.
I think
if they ask me, I will say medium rare. Now I will like a medium burger is obviously totally good. That's what most people at home are making them. But if I'm at a restaurant, I'll go medium rare, like a fancy one.
I need Google to track me and then inform me of this again, because I ordered a burger somewhere relatively recently. Oh, is it Q39? Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Because I got the burn-in burger. Oh, baby, both. Oh,
I don't like those noises.
both, baby boy.
Please
that
stop.
doesn't mean make more of them.
Boy, that is.
Please stop.
That made me feel like I was in my pre-prime.
I think that was the post-prime.
But I think I ordered the burger, I think medium. I might have even said medium well. I didn't mean to. But the reason that you get, because the steak you can get rare because it's just cooking the outside, but the part that's on the inside hasn't been got by all the bacteria and everything. Mm-hmm. Well, the bacteria that's on the surface gets ground up to be in a patty, So you probably should have a patty cooked more. But it's also nice, if you're gonna have a thick burger, you want to have a little. You want to hear it moo a little bit whenever you bite into it.
Do you?
I do.
I think I think you do. Not like a lot, but like a
little bit.
You get saddled up and you take a chomp and just a little.
It's dying breaths, absolutely.
You want to hear the cow's dying breath? The thing about Q39 is you can pretty easily get like 14 different animal souls, in one dish. Renee and we didn't realize that Renee's order came with fries on its own, and mine didn't, and I was like, you know what, sounds pretty bleeping good. They have burnt in poutine, so it's like melted cheese and burnt-ins, and I think it was a gravy and a barbecue of some sort on top of a bunch of fries. But then the whole thing gets chucked under a broiler and brought out, and oh my goodness, that was decadent.
Sounds lovely.
Anyway, Brady Singer. This segment did start.
I wish she was a little bit more well done.
Yeah,
what's before rare? Because that's Brady Singer.
The pre-prime?
He's not in his pre-prime yet.
He wishes he was in his pre-prime.
The pre-prime?
I think that's less upsetting than just the phrase pre-prime for some reason. No, we should have just taken a break after Rudy's joke. It's not going to get better than that. That's pretty funny. We'll take a break whenever we come back. I want to talk about the video game I played last night.
Take the show with you wherever you go. Listen live on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app and 810WHB.com. This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Burger was fine. Burger was pretty good. The fries, however, they were the little shoestring, super thin, super floppy fries. Get out of here with that. That's nasty.
Oh,
No,
interesting.
get outta here.
You're
Those aren't
throwing those to
fries.
the bottom of your list.
Oh, get outta here.
Okay.
I need
the way
crunch-
you
I need-
prefaced this,
I
I
need-
thought for sure.
I need crunch in my fries.
Oh, they weren't crunchy shoestring fries?
No, they're just little floppy things that you like pick them up and they just kind of go bloop. They just drip down.
flaccid fries.
They're useless.
Beards does not like a flaccid fry.
Get out of here.
Say that sentence out loud.
I, Beards McFly, do not like my fries flaccid.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
There's just a lot. I mean, we all get it, right? Anyway.
So good.
So we didn't have a show last night, so I played a video game that was on sale on the Nintendo Switch store. Still is for $15 currently. It is a $50 or $60 game usually. It is FIFA 21.
Oh.
First of all, I need to make this clear. If you Google like FIFA 21 Switch reviews, it's got like 2 out of 10 on like every single level because it is just, as far as I could tell, a roster update of FIFA 20.
That's like how all sports games are.
Which is just a roster update of 19, I believe.
And then 18 and then 17.
Well, I mean, you say that, Beards, but I think to some extent that's exaggerating. Madden is extremely similar year to year, but usually they at least try to convince you that something is different. Some new physics thing, some new design thing, some new game mode.
NBA just makes everybody sweatier and puts out pictures and puts it next to a guy from the previous generation that wasn't sweaty. It's like, look at the graphics!
But for FIFA, it literally says in the listing that there is nothing new other than updated rosters and stuff, which is crazy. But I wanted to do a create-a player and try that because I've heard people talk about how great FIFA is, but I've never played a FIFA game. And I certainly didn't. I didn't even know it was on Switch, which is why I bought this when it was $15. It still is. So I decided I'm going to go create a player route and do that because I like the sort of story mode kind of thing that comes with it. So I created Dick Justice. His full name is Richard Justice. That's the wiener dog here. It's Richard Justice, but he goes by Dick. And so every single time, like you're controlling him or whatever, it doesn't say Justice, which is what his jersey number, which is what his jersey says. Jersey says Justice.
And what's his jersey number?
It's 99. I went kind of Jay Crowder energy, like who let this guy on the field. I thought 69 was too on the nose.
That's fine. Yeah. I see nothing wrong with it.
Do I like how I phrased that? No. But I gave him long black hair because Dick Justice, the wiener dog, has black fur.
Sure.
And I tried to give him kind of some very expressive features. It's not a Monster Factory situation. But then I started with Brighton Hove Albion, which is the Premier League team that I chose because it has the same name of the homeschool high school that I went to.
Yeah.
I was loaned over to Bradford, which I allowed because it's my middle name and my dad's name and then the make of my car, Bradford. And I got to tell you, it's fun.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of yellows because I love the aggressive slide.
Yeah,
And
that feels right.
I will say this. I kind of understood offsides. Like we've joked about it. But I fully understand offsides now. Like in 2 games, I was like, oh yeah, I understand completely.
So you got it.
I still want to break that rule.
For sure.
And it's still a dumb rule.
Very dumb rule.
But I know how it works. I understand
I mean,
it.
technically the rule is not dumb. It's just they're a little too tight with it.
Nah, it's a little dumb.
I think
You
the
should be
rule's a
allowed
little
to
dumb.
cherry pick.
You should be able to push down the field, though. It appears to be all the soccer rules talk time we have for tonight. We'll try again tomorrow at 7. Until then, bye, Mom.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.